Good evening.
My name's John McGrath. I know some people know me and some people don't. But we're going to get going with this right now. The town administrator, Ms. Craver, and Ms. Spiewak are upstairs at the Board of Assessors. We have the delegation, the state rep delegation is up there, talking with the Board of Assessors about a bill that we had filed on abatements that some of the solar farms are trying to get. They're using a small loophole in the law to try and circumvent paying their assessment on their equipment, or to negotiate a pilot. Right now, if they're allowed to continue, we stand to lose a lot of money on that. So that's why they're up there, and I figured it was time to get going. So if we could go from around the left and just introduce ourselves, and I'm going to try and make this as short and painless as we possibly can. So, Deb.
Hi, I'm Deb Noble. I'm on the Board of Selectmen, and thank you all for coming here tonight. It's nice to see so many faces.
I'm Todd Gerard. I'm the conservation agent. I'm on recreation. I'm the stormwater director. I'm the GIS coordinator, open space manager, and probably a bunch of other things too.
Jim Howard, I'm chairman of the Council on Aging.
I'm Kathleen Pastori. I'm the principal at Heritage School. I'm Natalie Matthews. I'm on the Cultural Council.
John Flesh, I'm the superintendent at BayCat.
Pete Boria, water sewer superintendent.
Jeff Sorrell, new IT technician.
Lucy Stevens, recreation commission.
Diane Doherty, Recreation Commission.
Nancy Jackson, head of the Recycling Committee.
Roland Jackson, chairman of the Recycling Committee.
Kathleen Walker, I'm on the Board of Health and the Earth Fest and Old Home Day, and I'm here representing Old Home Day and recycling. No, I'm not representing recycling.
Debbie Marquis, I'm on the Recycling Committee, and I will speak for Earth Day if Kathleen wants me to. If no one else is here for Earth Day.
John Sanborn, Board of Health chairman.
Don Clay, planning board.
Patsy Redlight, Planning Board. Stephanie May, School Committee.
Stephen Sage, chair of the trustees of the Public Library.
Well, with that, I think we'll follow the same format that we followed before, which is we'll allow everybody to talk and tell us what's going on in their department. And if you have any questions or comments, you'd like to ask them after they make their statement. And there's a lot of interesting things going on. It's always good to have everybody up to speed. So, Todd.
I'll start the show. So I'll start with my least stuff first, GIS. So my big thing I'm doing with GIS is that's Global Information System. It's like the new way of mapping. I'm going over the entire town map, and I'm making a new map to show all our what's called vertices or our bound points for the town. We're going to go out, we're going to photograph them and recover all of them. This has to be done by code because the selectmen have to walk the town line every X number of years. I don't know the exact number off without reviewing my notes. My next thing is our Fay Mountain Farm Committee. So we've got the farm rented out to Neil Johnson a few years now. He's got a CSA. He's got the farm has really come a long ways. He's planted new apple trees. He does multiple events a year. We're going to be kicking off the spring this year on May 4th with our annual fish day. It's also the day we open up the farm. That's really going outstanding. As your stormwater person, the town now has a new, not just the town, the whole state, has a new what's called the MS4 permit. So our old permit probably required a level of effort of about this big for me. Our new permit level of effort looks like this. I'm looking at Pete. Every other department in here will have something to do with this new permit, DPW, Board of Health, Planning Board, Concom, everybody under the sun. So there's going to be quite a change under the new MS4 permit, and it's a growing experience, and it's going to actually end up becoming a pretty big cost to our budget. So my last position as Concom agent, we've seen a real increase in building lately. Last year or so, it seems like we've got a lot of new and different projects besides normal single-family residence. We've got a lot of solar. We've worked on with the sewer and water department, getting new sewer lines and water lines all over town. We have a huge beaver problem all over town, which I'm working at the state level through mass vulnerability planning at FEMA with Mass DOT, anyone who will listen to me to try to get us some help and relief on our drainage systems with the beavers that we're having in town. Other than that, we got recreation. We're going to have a little transition. I'm going to be taking a back seat to recreation. I have too many things on my plate, and we're going to be giving that up to someone else. But recreation is running smooth right now. We have all our facilities under contract for maintenance. We would like to see a little more facilities for the people in town. Recreation isn't just for kids with sticks and balls. It's all people of all levels, of all different things. Hiking trails, horseback riding, camping, things like that. So we're looking at expanding on that. And it's just been a real busy year at all our department levels. So if anybody has any questions on any of that stuff, I'll gladly entertain them.
I just want to make a comment on the MS4 permit that Todd's talking about for the town. I don't know if you've noticed what the state's doing on their roadways. They're creating detention basins because this is basically comes down from EPA,
correct,
from the federal government. The state has been creating detention basins in water storage areas, in the medians, in any of the drainage bowls, on any of the interchanges. It's costing you also at through your state funds. The state is and of course the federal government is not giving you any money to do this. They just say do it. But it is going to be for a rural town such as Charlton with sparse roadway drainage. Usually our drainage is one catch basin on one side of the street to another catch basin on the other side of the street and then into the swamp, or a pipe underneath the road to just get the water from one lowland area to the other. This is going to cost us some serious cash when we really get into it.
I'd like to make a comment. You mentioned the apple trees at Fay Mountain Farm. We lived up in upstate New York back in the early 70s, and there were similar things up there as far as the apple orchards go. And they offered a rental of a tree, and we rented a tree for $75, and there were other people that did it, and the guy took care of it, and we got the apples. So that's a thought.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Okay, Council on Aging, really not much to report. Elaine Gutierrez is doing a great job, and the council meets once a month and discuss various things. I do have a question on the budget. I don't know if there's anybody here that can answer it. A question came up about the budget at the last meeting we had, and I didn't realize this, but evidently there's a separate coverage for salaries outside of the Council on Aging budget, which is kind of odd, I thought, because we're controlling the people who serve the meals here. We should be in charge of their budget, I think.
Probably, Jim, what we'll have to do is talk to the Finance Committee.
Yeah, see,
that's the best. Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, okay. But other than that,
but that's a good question.
Yeah, other than that, everything's going pretty good. Not much to know. We're introducing new things like at the Masonic Home, the exercise with they have a swimming pool up there, and I think it's around $30 a month. but it's good, and there's a lot of activities. It's going well. And the attendance seems to be picking up a little bit, so that's it.
So Jim, you lost Kathy though.
What was that?
You lost Kathy.
Yes, that was sad, yeah. She had over 30 years here. We had a dinner for her up at Salem Cross, and the Council on Aging put that on for her, which was much appreciated. And then the other day, we had a final day. I think it was the 3rd of the month, and it went over really good. Her family was here, and she was pretty happy. It's sad to see her go. I know she's going to miss the place because she used to put in a lot of hours here that she didn't get paid for. That's the kind of person she was. So, hats off to her.
And I'm just here to represent the schools, as we're so intricately linked with whatever happens in town. So I'm just here to get educated and hear what's going on in the town. So.
Like I mentioned, I'm with the Cultural Council, so this will be a really brief overview. So one of our primary charge, right, is to distribute funds based on applications we receive for events and activities that will enrich the lives of people in Charlton. So this year we got 20 applications for funding. 8 of them were completely new applicants, which was nice to see new applications. A lot of the events are things for the senior center, the library, and some things with schools. But one of the new events to mention is that there was an application for a summer concert series on the Green, which I thought was nice. So that be more info on that once the decisions are released. The annual art show, of course, is held during Old Home Day, and this year, when that happens, it'll be the 40th art show. So we're hoping to go a little bigger with that and get a little more participation and donations. And our biggest challenge continues to be membership. So we have a few new people, meeting one of them, but we need to have at least 5 active members, and we're struggling to keep 3. And I think the biggest problem has been that you can't hold an elected position and serve on the Cultural Council. So if anyone is here not in an elected capacity and has a little time, we don't meet that often. It's not a big time commitment. So.
The other hindrance with that is I think that you can only serve 2 terms on the Cultural Council, and then you have to have a break.
Yep.
And I believe we're trying to get the state to change that.
Yeah.
I'm Lori Degnan, and representing the Solar Regulation Study Committee. So I probably will be done in annual town meeting, so this will be my only visit here. So we were formed through the Article 28 for the solar moratorium, and it's not to fight solar, but to adopt reasonable guidelines, buffer zones. We're looking at bond amounts. So we're trying to look at what other towns have done and what the state gave out guidelines in 2014. So we're just following. Luckily, we can follow what other towns have done. So what we're really trying to do is look ahead 5, 10, 20 years down the road and try to anticipate problems from the 22 or 28 that we're going to have and what's going to happen in 10 or 20 years. So it's not going to affect any that are here or are already permitted. So we're made up of a fire chief, board of selectmen, conservation, and 2 residents. That's it.
With that, I'd just like to interrupt and extend our acknowledgement that Rep. Durant and Rep. Frost are here, and as I stated before, they were upstairs with the Board of Assessors, with our legal counsel that we have that's going to probably represent us in a case that's going to end up going to the SJC on the way the solar farms are being taxed. But they had sponsored a bill that was in the House. And it died in the committee for 3rd reading, so they're going to refile the bill, and they're also going to try and help us out with what's actually causing the consternation of the solar community. So, but with that, thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming. So, say a few words if you want. What's going on down on the up on the hill.
Senior member, go ahead. He's older. That joke never gets old. Or this is old. So I'm Representative Frost. Just want to say thank you
We were, as you said, up in another meeting, and then we were asked to come down and join you all here. And when we first, heard that all the boards and committees in town were getting together in one room, wasn't sure if it was going to be more like a gladiator setup or anything like that, or what have you. But no, I think it's a great idea. I think for you folks to all be doing this together and communicating and getting to know each other and just talking about the town's issues and problems and concerns. And so it's a wonderful, wonderful idea to be all in one room and do it instead of everything through an email or I heard this from that group, and just be able to get in and just talk to each other. So that's a great thing. We probably have to do more. We should probably be doing more of that in the legislature, but or at least in Washington anyway. I think we're much better off than what they're doing. But I just want to say, we just we were just sworn in last Wednesday. The governor was just sworn in last Thursday, and we just started a whole brand new legislative session. So everything starts from scratch. I know, sometimes it's a good thing, and I know sometimes there are bills that don't get done, and they have to go back to the first step again, and have to go through the whole entire process again. But so we're in the midst of doing that. We expect that. Sounds like education funding is going to be good this year. I don't have a number for you yet, but it sounds like that's going to be positive from what we're hearing, and I think the governor is going to offer some good numbers in his budget, which will be coming out in a few weeks. And we'll be doing our rules debate soon, which is somewhat boring for more insider baseball stuff, but it's very important in how we actually operate, and sometimes why things die in committee and things don't come up for a vote when you folks ask us to vote on something and it never happens. Well, this sets that pace and the control of how things actually really work. So we'll be taking that up soon, and we'll be doing committee assignments and things of that nature. And like I said, everything just starts all over again. So we still don't even know who the chairman of various committees are yet, because they might get shuffled. So we just don't know. So we're really, 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 like I said, really at the start of all things again. But I'm hoping that the economy continues to hum along, and hopefully our budget will express that. The governor, like I said, will be coming out with his budget within the next few weeks. House Ways and Means, and Peter has served on the House Ways and Means Committee before, and he knows, that he'll be traveling all through the state come February and March, and they will be taking testimony from various people about the governor's budget. House Ways and Means will come out with a budget sometime in mid-April. Sometimes they are nice enough to where we always advocate for it, but sometimes we're successful and sometimes they don't want to do it. But we do strongly encourage them to do early aid resolutions when we can. And with the times that we have, sometimes you may find out in mid or late March what you're getting, but sometimes they choose not to do those things, and they will release something by mid-April, and then we file our amendments and debate it 2 weeks after, a week or so after that, and that will be the House budget. Then goes to the Senate. Senate does the same thing. Then sometime in June, the two sides work together and come up with a final product to send to the governor by July 1st. So. We early aid local resolutions, we love them. Like I said, we'll continue to support them. And that we know that your town meetings, you got to prepare now. And it's and the earliest you can kind of get a number, and using the governor's number is great, but that is that the number the legislature is going to adopt. And sometimes if they can come to an early resolution to that, that's great. If they don't, it's a waiting game, and you kind of going to have to base your budget on a guess. And sometimes it works out great, and other times it can be a challenge when you set a budget and you find out you're maybe not getting as much as you had hoped. So so I think that's the basis of what's going to be happening over the next several months. And we're all looking forward to working with you. And Peter, is there anything you want to?
Well, I just want to say you might have seen in the news that the December revenue numbers fell way short of their projections. I don't think it's something to get too concerned with. A lot of people like to pay their taxes in December, but with the tax changes and the tax law changes, we didn't see that happen. So the revenues are slightly behind their projections for the year overall, even though we had a pretty bad December. So we'll see going forward how that's going to pan out as we get into budget season. As Paul mentioned, we'll start doing the hearings and whatnot. And typically, if you're familiar with the budget, and you all at least have that general knowledge that the governor puts out his budget number, his recommendations, and we in the legislature always say the governor proposes and the legislature disposes of his budget as soon as they get it. The House puts out their number, and then the Senate gets the last bite at that apple. And because the Senate is so far down the line, those revenue numbers become clearer and clearer. So hopefully, that number keeps going up. But we're starting to get a feel for that. As Paul mentioned, we're just getting committee assignments now. Every 2 years, you get your committee assignments. Our legislative filings are taking place now. They all have to be filed by the 25th. Is that the date?
Yep.
25th. And after that, we'll start the budget process. So we're just getting going here, but a lot of good things happening. Any information that you all want to share as to your legislative priorities, the things that you want to see happen. I have several constituents who come to me from time to time and they want a bill filed, and now's the time to do those kinds of things. So.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing, we can file bills at any time during our 2-year session, but the ones that we file now automatically guaranteed get a public hearing. Bills that you file that are considered late file bills aren't guaranteed that, and it can be an extra.
It gets a lot of butt to get.
Yeah, it can take an extra process to try to get it just to a committee to have a public hearing to hear what you have to say and why you want something. So this is a great time with people, and sometimes we'll even do citizen legislation all the time when we get suggestions from citizens that want to file legislation themselves because they want to have that opportunity to write letters, send emails, or even come into the State House themselves and advocate for something. So, we generally try to, meet what they want to try to do, and if it's something that, is a great idea, of course, we'll file it as well. But sometimes there are things that are citizen petitions that citizens feel very, very passionate about, and they want to propose legislation. Massachusetts is one of the, I think, few states. I don't think there's many that do it. I'm not sure, but Massachusetts is one of a few states that actually allow citizens to file legislation directly through their state reps or state senators, and this is the time to do it because again, you get a chance to get that public hearing, and somebody will listen to it and everything else. So.
Perfect leader to ask you something. So, first I do want to mention the budget for the people who are here that may not know. We have a budget kickoff meeting where they will be we meet with Dudley Charlton School, and I think we'll also be inviting Baypath if they'd like to join us also this year. But we meet with the Dudley Charlton school system as well in the town of Dudley. The representatives come. We have a conversation about our needs to let them know what our financial needs are with the school. And the town side, Dudley also does the same thing, and it's kind of our kickoff. So that probably will be coming out somewhere in February, and anyone can come and attend that. So kind of keep an eye out on that. We'll be calling it the financial budget kickoff. Regarding legislation, one of the things. First, I want to thank you for the Conservation Commission. We did a legislative act, you'll remember, for 2 alternates for conservation, and that legislation's passed, and we moved that forward very quickly. Thank you very much. The one that hasn't moved, that we're having some struggle with, and we'd like to know if there's anything that we can do to help that move forward, which is the optional gas tax. As you know, we have 2 of the gas stations on the Mass Turnpike. That would give us significant revenue. If we were able to have a local option. We don't have hotels like some of the coastal communities, and we don't have a whole lot of gas stations. So that would be something that, we don't have a lot of restaurants. So that would be something, the gas stations would be something that we could use. I know that we had voted it, you had filed it, time ran out, like 2 years. We had to take it back to town meeting, and they re-voted it at their last town meeting. And I've sent that information to you. Can you just tell us where that is now?
Sure. You want to know?
Yeah, well, I can say that it's a new session, so we can file that bill again. I think it's Smitty. Is Smitty the one? Smitty Pignatelli. He files it as a statewide bill to give you the local option, And so there's two different bills there. One is just that we filed to allow the town to implement 3 cents or 3% on the gas.
I think we got a little mixed up for last time because when Smitty did his bill, we thought, well, good, if this is going to go push for a local option statewide, we would prefer to see that. But the resistance to Smitty's bill now makes us go, should we be pushing just for us because of Charlton and the impact it would have here? Should we stand alone, or is Smitty still pushing?
Well, and I won't speak for Paul. Paul can speak to this, but the chances of just allowing one town, the town of Charlton, to implement a tax is slim to none. They're just not going to do it. Because as soon as you do it, everybody else is going to say, well, gee, if they're going to do it, why don't we do it? So it's better. It would be at least a better chance to have, and I think that's why we talked about it last time, is to just, it's Smitty's bill. He's a rep out in Western Mass, and he has the Lee Exchange, so that's why he files it. But he recognizes that filing it as a statewide bill, as a local option, is at least more palatable to anybody that would vote for us. Instead of somebody saying, well, gee, if I'm from Arlington, I'm going to say, well, why am I going to give Charlton that option when I want that option for myself too? So.
What's also true is once one town gets it, then it makes it easier. So sometimes one town has to go. So whichever way would be helpful for us to move this forward, we certainly will do. Let us know what we can do to help you.
Yeah, I think it's more of getting other towns on board, looking for the same thing, and trying to look at it as a statewide approach, like they do for restaurants, like they do for hotels, and see if you can get enough communities to really be clamoring for it as a and especially if you're going to try to say use it for certain expenses, whether it's transportation, whether it's the runoff issues and all those things that you're being assessed for. I think that those are arguments that can have some validity and can get some sympathy. But yeah, I mean, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, it's one town getting the privilege to do it. Not going to happen. Never seen it happen. Isn't going to happen. And we will do we'll file it still. I mean, where your legislative body, and ourselves and Senator Goby will still file it and put it forward. This is what the town is looking for. But this is one of those kind of like local option things that towns sometimes ask for that get turned down. Auburn at one time, many years ago, I had to tell the police chief and the town administrator sitting with them, and this is going back from some years. They wanted to increase the hotel occupancy tax just in Auburn, and all the good things we're going to use it for. And I had when we filed it, but I told them going in filing it that, and it passed town meeting, but then I went and told them, I was very blunt with them and very honest that it was a fast track of going nowhere. Now, if you want to create, did it, ultimately, with them and other communities doing similar things, does it create a dialogue to discuss doing something statewide? Then that's a different story, because then now you're filing something. Oh, look we got a bill from Charlton, we got a bill from this community, we got a bill from that community. All these communities are asking for a piece of the gas tax, or have an option, a local option to add a gas tax in their community. Maybe it's something we need to look at. So from that perspective, it's more of an advocacy piece of legislation, I would call it. But yeah, don't go spending it anytime soon, and don't, it's just one town getting to do it, and nobody else gets to do it. It's just, or just the towns that ask. I haven't seen it happen, and I've been around a while, so I haven't seen it happen where they gotta let one community do something or a couple communities do something, but nobody else can do it, so I think that's where the rubber hits the road. One time Cape Cod wanted to be able to increase a hotel occupancy tax that nobody else would get. And they fought for it on the floor too, and it did, through like an amendment on the budget or something, and it died. So, and people fought it back, and they said no, So, but ultimately, they did lead to where they did increase it, the hotel occupancy tax, and added the restaurant one. So you can never say never, but I would think that if it's going to happen, like Peter said, it's going to be it would be for everybody. And I would say talking to other other communities, talk to the MMA, talk to others, talk to them about this possibility. If this is something that can really, really help and work, and but there's only so many times we can go to that well too. I mean, I would also argue that we do we do gas stations, restaurants, hotels. I mean, it gets to a point where is there anything else we're not having a local tax for? So that would be the pushback on that. But can you make it? All right, let's just do gas now, and maybe we can. So we'll see.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm very grateful that we're both here. But a lot of us don't have a lot of time, and we have a whole temperature board.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we were.
Apologize. Maybe we could continue the discussion at the end of the meeting so that people can stay.
Well, I'm going to I have something else I have to get to, and we were, we were unexpectedly brought down here for this whole big meeting, which we have no problem being here, but we certainly don't want to interrupt or disrupt your meeting and the issues that you have before you. And if there's anything you need to talk to us about, or if we want to hold a future discussion at some point, we'd be happy to do that as we get further into the session. Just deal with whatever's happening and what's been going on and everything with in more detail. Sure, that'd be fantastic.
So if it came up to the floor for the entire state to pass this local gas tax, how would you vote?
That's a good question.
I would probably vote for it because it allows the towns to decide what they want to do. But
yeah, you'd have to have a local opportunity. Yeah, towns would have to be able. If a town wants to impose it on themselves, then that to me is different than saying that the state is going to impose an increase in the gas tax and promise to give it to the local towns.
Exactly. Well, and that's what I was just going to say too.
So it's devil's in the details.
But that's why I think Paul and I both voted against the gas tax increase that was passed a few years ago. Myself, I would rather see you have the money than trust what we're going to do with the money.
Were you glad Debbie walked out of that room?
Why, I've always said that. When I say us, I mean a collective us.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much, guys. And I really appreciate you here being here.
Anytime.
For your assistance. That's an important thing for us.
Absolutely.
Okay. Karen, what are you doing next?
Good evening. I'm Karen Spiewak, the newest Board of Selectmen member. I also serve with Ms. Degnan on the Solar Moratorium Committee, and it's a pleasure to be here. I am going with that. My peers already said everything I needed to say, or covered it all, told you how dull and boring it is in the Board of Selectmen right now. I don't know. But seriously, it's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to see you now. First time the schools are here? Yes. Yes, welcome. It's nice to see you both.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. And again, it's a pleasure to be here. And if there's any questions, you have an answer for me, for the news.
Yeah, sure. John LaFleche, Superintendent at Baypath. Thank you for asking us. We always feel like an integral member of the community, and we certainly work with Robin and her departments quite closely. This year we've had a number of areas that we've been working diligently in. The first is school safety. And over the summer we came to an agreement with Robin and the police chief, and we were able to fund a new resource officer at Baypath. And I can tell you without hesitation that I've gotten much more sleep this year than I have in past years. The officer is fantastic. The police chief is outstanding to work with. And we feel like it's a real partnership. And so it's been going great. Unfortunately, we've kept the officer busy at the high school, as every high school would. But it's been a great boon for us. In addition to that, we've just contracted with a company called Enforce 911, as well as the police department has done that. And that's an emergency warning system we're going to be able to put in place for all of our staff. Should, God forbid, something happen up at the school, we'll be in direct communication within 12 seconds to the police department with this new app. So we're just rolling that out now. We figure by the middle of the winter it should be in full force. We continue to work on our ALICE training, and in fact there's been some enhancements to the ALICE program which we're just learning about. So we'll be working on that as well. And we've had a lot of professional development around the issue of vaping. Vaping has become a tremendous problem in schools, high schools certainly in particular, but all schools. So we've been doing a lot of training of our staff. We've also done training on cigarettes and marijuana. And we're working, in fact, in a couple of weeks we'll be meeting with a company that has some technology that may help us work on reducing the vaping in our bathrooms, because of course that's where it's taking place most of the time. Although, believe it or not, with the new technology, they're hiding it right in the classroom as well. But most of them are going to the restroom. So we're hoping to combat that. A second area of focus this year and next will be, we're going through a couple of outside assessments. Our New England Association of School and Colleges assessment is in full swing. We're doing our self-assessment now, and in April of 2020 we'll have a visiting team coming in to assess our work, and I'm quite confident reaccredit us for the next 10 years, which is key for all of our students that want to go on to post-secondary education. But in addition, this May we will have a visiting team from the Council on Occupational Education, because you may know we have an evening LPN program up at Bay Path. But in order for those students to be eligible for Title IV student loans, because the cost of the program is about $13,500, none of which comes from taxation. But in order for those folks to be able to borrow money to pay for the program like any other college program, we have to be accredited by a recognized Federal Department of Education accredited agency. So we're accredited by the Council on Occupational Education. So we're right near the end of that self-study, and we'll be hosting several people in May for that. And one of the last areas I'll mention that we've been spending a lot of time is increasing our awareness and support for the social emotional needs of our students. You may have heard, and maybe not, but unfortunately in June we lost a student to suicide. So, we're working hard to improve our services for those students. That hasn't happened before, I'm sorry. So, again, working with the chief and a lot of outside counseling agencies, we're bringing a lot of support into the school. And a couple of other things, we're just on the cusp of closing our power equipment shop, but we've instituted a new ISSN computer shop, which seems to be really successful. We have our first small group of sophomores who transferred from some other programs, but we're right at the end of the freshman exploratory. So the freshmen will tell us next week which shops they want, and I'm expecting that ISSN program to really fill up. And we just released a report to the school committee last night. We have 1/3 of our seniors out on paid cooperative education, which means that rather than coming to their shop every other week, they're going to a place of business using the skills they've learned, but more importantly, gaining even more relevant skills. And those 100 students are earning on average $100,000 a month. So, because it is a paid position, it's not an internship. And in February, the juniors will be eligible, and of course they have to have good grades before they can go onto this program. The juniors will be eligible to go on co-op. And lastly, we've been very pleased and working well with Robin and all of the departments. We're anxiously awaiting our municipal water system to come by Muggett Hill. We've been working with Kleinfelder on the pumping station that's going to be built next year, and so that looks like it's going to be a great project once that's done. The two representatives, I would have wanted to thank them for the work they did on the budget last year, because they did secure additional regional school transportation funding at the end of the budget cycle, which has translated into Bay Path's ability to send a modest amount of money back to all 10 of our towns. And I'm remiss, I don't know the exact figure for Charlton, but I'm sure you got a letter recently. And we really view that busing aid as your money. We have to bus students, and what we don't get from the state, we have to pass on to the towns. But if we get more than we put in our February budget, we've always given it back to the communities, because we know that all 10 towns are facing budget problems, just as well as the schools face budget concerns. So that's hopefully not too long.
Oh, very good, John. Thank you very much. Pete?
No questions. Okay. So
Pete Boria, Water Sewer Superintendent. If many of you drive the roads in town, you'll see that we have a few projects going on. The first is the Berry Corner Road Waterline Project. It's approximately 3.5 miles of new water line and service connections. Part of that 3.5 miles will have approximately 80 new houses connected to the municipal water system. Another project we have going on is this what's called the School Loop, which is going to get water up to the Overlook and also get water down Old Worcester Road to Morton Station Road and back up Muggett Hill Road to provide. It's approximately 6 miles of water line that'll provide water for 200 new customers, including the Charlton, the Heritage School, the middle school, Bay Path. Again, Overlook will be the big anchor customer there to help the water quality flow through that line. Kleinfelder is currently in design of 2 new pump stations, one for the Overlook and one for Bay Path. Those have gone out to bid. So hopefully come spring, they'll start the construction again on Old Worcester Road. Have a few crews going and be able to get that water line in sooner than later. As far as water goes, we're also looking at becoming a consecutive water supply from Southbridge. Currently, we own all of the infrastructure in the roadway, and the town of Southbridge operates it. Our goal would be, once the Route 169 pump station is in place, to take over operations from there out to the remainder of the town and operate our own water system. That way there we'll control the connections, we'll control the billing, and be able to have everything done in town. So new commercial connections, new residential connections, won't have to do a 2-tiered approach and come to Charlton and then go to Southbridge to be able to connect. So it'll just give us a little bit more control. And the last, I guess, big thing we have going on for water is the public water supply well search down at Poplarville. We have a piece of property under agreement. We've drilled a couple of test wells that have shown some promise. We're in the process of drilling a couple more test wells, and if those turn out to be okay, we'll identify that as a possible source to provide approximately 170 to 200,000 gallons per day of water for the town. So it won't be enough to supply the town's future needs. It'll be enough to supply our current needs and give us a good base to grow from there. So kind of a lot going on with water. So it's kind of a lot of exciting things going on, a lot of movement, and a lot of action. As far as sewer goes, we're looking at doing some small improvements at the wastewater treatment plant to increase efficiency and kind of make the plant run better so that we'll be able to say yes to more new connections, or if there's any new subdivisions that want to come into town and the developers come in and say we'd like to connect, we don't have to say no because we don't have room to treat the additional capacity. So we're working on that, and also the endless task of trying to solve the infiltration and inflow problem of the sewer infrastructure. So looking back in minutes, that's been ongoing since the 80s, and we're just continuing to chip away at that and see what we can do. So that covers just about everything we have going on.
Hey, I've got a question.
Sure.
You know, I live right down the street here, and I see these pool water trucks coming from Old Muggett Hill Road. Is there a big well down there someplace?
I'm not sure.
Gotta check it out, because these things, there's gotta be at least 100,000 gallons of water going by my house in the summertime every day.
Right.
I'm Jeff Sorrell, new IT technician. I'm also on the tech committee. I'll go over a couple quick things that are affecting the town right now. I'll start with the technology committee. The major thing we have going on is the new town website, which is going to be all departments, all committees. It's going to list everything and have all the information that anybody would need to access anybody in the town, pay your bills, do anything as much as you can online instead of having to come to the office if you don't want to. It's an ongoing process from Civic Plus. There's going to be a lot of information going in. Lisa Westwell, she's doing a lot on this, and she'll be contacting most of the department heads and committee members to get their updated information, make sure everything's correct. So that's a big project going on. On my end, this is my 22nd day. So a couple of things, major things I'm working on. Obviously, I want to go through department by department, building by building, see what's there, what's needed, what's being used, what isn't being used, and inventory what we have for assets, what we're using, what we don't need to use, what we can recycle, what we can repurpose, and somehow, if we're not using them, there's no reason to keep piles of stuff around. And also the inventory of what we are using to see what we need to upgrade in the future. I know Microsoft end of life for Windows 7 is beginning of next year, so that's pretty huge. How much they'll extend that, I'm not sure, but the operating system dies next year. So that pretty much everybody's going to have to go to 10. Unless there's some old software that only runs on Windows 7, we can maybe finagle that. So the assets, inventory assets is pretty huge. We have to go, I'll be going around to everybody and taking care of that. And the other kind of big project that we're going to do is upgrade the Selectmen's meeting room. We're going to put some new tech grade upgrades in there to make it a better, more effective meeting room, but also possibly do some video conferencing, do some seminar and classroom functioning, so we can kind of bring that up to date, along with the cable department, get maybe some better sound, better microphones, update maybe what the selectmen are using. I know those iPads are a little old; they're getting kind of antiquated. Maybe build something in that is easier to use and easier to access, and can maybe bring the room up to date a little bit with the 21st century.
Can I piggyback a little bit
Sure.
on what he said? Regarding the website, when Lisa or the technology committee reaches out to the departments, we have two different types of websites within the town as we're making the transfer. One is you have a website, if you're a committee that has no number 2 pages, that's going to be transferred over. She's going to be reaching out to you to ask you to fix, let her know what you don't want migrated. This is really important. We had a technology committee meeting last night. It's very important that you get back to her as quickly as possible, because that can hold up the whole transfer over for the website, or 2, you end up with a whole lot of information you really didn't need and want. Some of these websites haven't been updated in a long time. Some people even said, I have a website. So please go onto the town's website, check and see if you have a website. You can print out what your website looks like, mark it up, and then just send it in. If you don't know how to get in touch with Lisa, you can bring it into our office and we'll make sure we get it to her. But please get that task done.
And this will happen sooner than later. By the end of
It's moving quickly.
yeah, about maybe 6 or 7 weeks max, it's going to be cut off and it's all being updated.
All right, thank you guys for having me tonight. Lucas Stevens, Recreation Commission. Been kind of a busy year for us as well, as Todd has mentioned. We work in cooperation with Todd on almost a daily basis sometimes, especially when it comes to engineering. Todd's a great engineer to work with, especially when it comes to civil projects like the new skate park, which we were proud to open in, time flies, October now. Oh my goodness, now all of a sudden it's a new year. So as we enter the new year, we have a couple new things coming up in mind, various ideas. We are currently in the design phase, working with Burton Engineering for upgrades to Maynard Field. We were found non-compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act. The State Commission sent us a letter around a year ago saying we need some various upgrades at Maynard Field to be back in compliance. This will include resurfacing, upgrades to the bleachers with handicapped access, and improvements such as handicapped parking such in the lower lot, and various improvements to the outhouse and snack shack. The numbers aren't exactly in yet. I can defer to Todd with the details because he has been our point person on that still. But we are still in the design phase going forward. We're still waiting to hear back on ADA with our final designs. And other than that, that's our big project coming up. Minor projects include upgrades to the basketball court next to the skate park. Probably going to try to see that resurface into an actual basketball court instead of just some open pavement there, so it has the actual dimensions of a basketball court. And Jeff, our new IT guy, we got in touch with him recently. He actually found 2 brand new basketball hoops in, what was it, the Veterans Office, you said?
Yeah, the Veterans Closet.
So that was a nice random find. It's like fate. It's honestly fate. So hopefully you can get those installed down there as well. That would be an awesome upgrade since some of the hoops down there are currently in a degenerative state. So the new skate park and a new basketball court right next to it would be awesome. However, we'll definitely explore that going forward. Other than that, we're looking at various irrigation upgrades to the fields, minor projects, very minor projects, routine maintenance, nothing major. But other than that, we always appreciate public input. We're always looking at new ideas, especially for winter recreation, year-round recreation going forward. So any input, any ideas, feel free to reach out to Diane or myself. We're always open to it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Diane Doherty, Charlton Recreation. Lucas pretty much summarized what's been happening. The skate park itself, we owe a big gratitude to Charlton Rec Friends, who did help us fund with us to get this park done this year. If you haven't been down, check it out. Have the kids come down. It's open. It's still open because we have no snow. So please feel free to come and spread the word. Have the kids use it. We are going to do some upgrades eventually. Maybe add some more equipment, resurface the area. But again, funding is key, and Charlton Rec Friends is going to continue to help us and support us in that endeavor. Pretty much this is my first year on Charlton Rec Commission, and I'm enjoying it tremendously. So thank you.
And,
Thank you for having me.
In addition to that, just I want to backtrack real quick. I almost forgot to mention it. We do have an opening on the Recreation Commission. We're only at 2 members right now. It's usually 3. Denton, our 3rd member, he started a family recently, and he had to move out of town to Holland, Holland. So we have an opening. If you know anyone interested, feel free to reach out. We'd love to have them.
Yes.
Thank you.
Her.
Okay.
Roland Jackson here with the Recycling Committee, and we've accomplished a few things this year with some of the previous grant money that we've received, small scale grant money. We've managed to, these are recyclable. We buy these recyclable with the grant money, and these recyclables products are supposed to have at least 30% recyclable material that's put into this product. Anyways, we've been selling these products, which they were on display. Some of them were up at the, and we've been selling them and other materials that we're buying. Like we bought 6 large anti-littering signs, which we hope to have the highway department help put them up. And on that department, anyways, we're buying those signs because they're not made, they don't come up to the special, so that's the money that selling those products, we're able to use money. Same idea with the Earth Day banner we put up, that's not a recyclable material, so we have to use it. The money that we collect from the recyclables, we buy something that helps us enjoy that. That's one project. Of course, we still want to be part of Earth Day, Blueberry, and Old Home Day, which we attempt to sell some of those products. So that, and of course, we've managed to get another grant this year, a small-scale grant of $1,000 to continue. So those are about what we've accomplished. What we're thinking about for the future of 2019 is to get the signs put up around the town and continue with the present of the 3 festivals and recruit. We're looking to recruit new members too. Very much so. Here we are, that's it. But anyway, and the other thing is to come up with some new ideas to be able to come up with what's going on. That's about all we've got right at the present moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen?
So, on a lighter note, one of the 3 festivals, and it's so great to be able to say that we have 3 festivals, because now we have the Blueberry Festival in July, and the Art Arts and Activity Center, and we have Earth Day Festival, and we have Old Home Day Festival, which is going into its 123rd year in Charlton. So we're very proud of that. One of the, if you look at why Charlton is one of the top towns in Massachusetts, the first thing they mention is Old Home Day. So we want to keep that going. It's very important. We've got about 12 members on the committee. This year we're losing 2 vital members, Kathy Keel and Jim Purvier. Both of them did more work than they should have, and they were a great benefit to the committee. What's going to happen with Jim leaving is there's a big gap in the fireworks. The fireworks used to be done by the fire department, but the Old Home Day Committee took that over a few years ago. So we raised money and do the fireworks, and that's on the Saturday night before Old Home Day. So we can really use help with organizing that and the fireworks and cleaning up afterwards. The other thing that Jim was very involved with, and I don't know how we'll ever fill these shoes, but the frog jumping contest. Jim ran that, and so somebody, one of you guys or women, have to step up to this table and say, "I will do the frog jumping contest," because it's a lot of fun and it's a very famous contest. Other than that, we have we give out the community service awards to people like the people that are around this table. People that give of themselves for no remuneration to the town and really do a lot to help the town, people that serve on the committees, and anybody that does anything for the town. So we're looking for nominations for those people somewhere around July. So keep it in mind, and even if you think of it now, send it off. We're having our first Old Home Day meeting at the end of this month, and you're all welcome to attend that. So, and we're always looking for new members too. The other thing that's going to happen again this year that I think is very positive is the candidates' night. We run a candidates' night usually last week in April, just before the town election, and all the candidates that are up for election come to that night and stand up. They're not interrogated at all. They just stand up or sit down really and tell why they're running for the office that they're running for. And this is a very important event in the town because it gives all of us a chance to meet the candidates. And it's televised, thanks to True. And so we can watch it on television if we can't be there. And there's questions that you can ask the candidates, the possible candidates. So it's really a comfortable night. It's not anxiety-provoking, although none of us like to speak in public. It's not very long. So we're looking forward to that. And with that, and that's at the library. And that's going to be probably the last week in April. Turn it over to Deb.
I was just going to mention a few pertinent things about the Earth Day Festival. It's always held the last Saturday in April, and this year it'll be April 28th. And we'll be asking people to sign up for roads to clean. There'll be a map in this building. The big yellow trash bags are stored here too. And of course they have the big dumpster in the back for people who do a road to get rid of all the stuff on that day. And of course on the Common there'll be the Earth Festival from 11 to 1. And that the banner that we helped purchase with our recycling group will be put up across the road. And a number of vendors will be there, and groups like the recycling committee will be attending that too. So it's always a fun day, especially if we get the good weather. So I hope people can come to that.
Can I just jump in here with the recycling? This part of it. I forgot to mention that we have received another small scale grant of $1,000 to continue buying recyclable materials. I forgot all about mentioning that.
Jim's got a question.
A couple of years ago, winter days was a big thing in this town. A couple of years ago, we got rained out. So I wonder if it wouldn't be a good idea to have a rain date, just in case.
Or else to be able to go inside. I know some of the things could be, we've actually done something for Earth Day in this room, I remember.
Yeah.
But
But just
I don't know.
keep that in mind, because
It is hard when it, I remember the one that rained.
vendors. Okay.
All right, thank you.
John Sanborn, Board of Health. This is my third year on the Board of Health. This year I'm chairman. The one thing that we do speak about at every meeting, which is about every 3 or 4 weeks, or it seems like it's every meeting, is what's going on near the Southbridge landfill, specifically H Foot Road, Berry Corner Road, and Eleanor Lane. If you don't know, you should know. There was a lot of well contamination there that was probably attributable to the landfill. So folks there, as you know, Pete Boria mentioned one of the projects that we're getting water for, so it's going to be nice to see these folks finally have water. Some of them are on bottled water, some are on POET systems, point of entry treatment systems for their water. There are folks there from that area that come to our Board of Health meeting every week, and there are consistent issues, whether it's complaining about the water, complaining about noise, construction. Again, there's light at the end of the tunnel, so that's good. We recently have seen an uptick in odor complaints, which the DEP acted on. This was also in the Telegram and Gazette. So they were fine because it appears that they were not doing the proper protocol for covering for open trash while they're configuring the landfill for the cap. So again, that's good. Anybody who's been in town also knows that they should know that there's 2 old landfills on Flint Road, which the Board of Health is kind of overseeing as far as making sure that it's in compliance with DEP. This is going to go on for many years to go. I'm not sure exactly how many, 10, 20. There's, I think, a 30-year time limit where you have to monitor it. So we've been monitoring this. We've been working closely with Gary Magnuson of CMG Engineering. He's a great asset, stops into our meetings quite a bit with updates. We've been testing wells in the area, had some minor issues with houses in close proximity. But recently, the board decided to go ahead and do some testing of wells on Burlingame Road, which is down gradient from these landfills. The last time that any number of these houses were tested and the results given to the Board of Health was approximately 10 years ago. We don't anticipate any issues. We're being told by CMG Engineering that there probably will not be any issues, but we want to be proactive. We want the town to know and the residents in the area to know that we want to test some of these houses, and we're waiting to hear back so that we can get the approval and then go ahead and test. People have been told, look, if we test your wells, and again, this would only be about 3 houses, so if the wells are tested and they find any contamination, the burden is on the town to make sure that their water is clean. So again, this is something that will be happening, I would hope within the next 6 months we'll get the proper number of people identified, get their wells tested, and get the results back. And again, we're pretty confident. We don't think that there's going to be anything there, but we'll be proactive. So that's it for landfills. That takes up a lot of our time at these meetings. We've also recently been involved in various marijuana discussions, including BGG, and we came to, actually it was in this room, Board of Health Director Jim Philbrook and I came in and we voiced some concerns to the planning board to ensure that odor and noise would not be issues for any nearby residents, because if there are odor and noise complaints, that would be unfortunately they would go probably to the Board of Health, so we'd be on that end. So that's it in a nutshell. But if you do want to know anything else, we've got a heck of a website out there on the town, a lot of information, and if you have any questions, you can contact me or Jim Philbrook, who's a terrific resource.
And I just want to mention that on their website is a little app where you can check, it's updated almost daily with foods that have been found contaminated, and so you can check it out.
Yeah,
every
any
time you
recalls,
watch. Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's, they keep right on top of that. There's just a whole slew of information. You could spend half a day probably just trying to read through all the information.
You want
So,
to mention Jim Malley?
yeah.
That was gonna be my thing.
Yeah. Go ahead, John. You probably-
Well, no, I mean, I was gonna mention to you, John, just to talk about Jim Malley and what he did for us and how we're gonna miss him.
If you're not aware, Jim Malley passed away Saturday, I believe, at the age of 59. His obituary was just in the paper. He did a lot of work for the Board of Health in an engineering capacity, reviewing Title V septic plans and doing a lot of work like that. So he had his own desk in the Board of Health. He was there quite a bit. He was highly respected. He worked here. He had his own business, but he also worked here for this town and for maybe a half a dozen or so other towns doing the same thing. And a lot of people, some people here in this room, I'm sure, know him quite well or knew him quite well. And it's unfortunate, and we're very sorry to have to announce that. But he'll be missed.
I think the services are tomorrow, right?
Yes, calling hours are at Britton Wallace in Auburn tomorrow from 4 to 7, and then I believe the actual service is the day after. I don't recall all the details of that.
10 o'clock.
But
anyone that's interested can contact our office and those.
Yeah. You need anything additional to Jim Philbrook actually had a printout, and I just briefly looked at it before I came down here. But it's also in the newspaper and online.
Well, one of the things that I want to bring up is that Jim did take care of a lot of other towns. But if a developer here was putting in a system, or if a citizen was putting in a system, and they were hard up against it, that they needed to get something done, he would drop whatever he had to drop, and he would come out and take care of it. And you can't ask anything more from a professional employee than that. He would interrupt whatever he was doing. I was the fortunate benefactor of one of those trips, not here, but in a house that my son was building. And he dropped everything just to go over and make sure that everything was all right, that we could seal the thing up and move on. But Jim was a gentleman. He's very professional, and he treated everybody the way he wanted to be treated.
And again, I don't know if I mentioned it. Did I mention how many years? It was something like 24 years, I believe, working for the town of Charlton. So quite a long-term employee. So he'll be missed for sure.
Okay,
I'm sorry, John, real quick, I just want to give kudos to Jim Philbrook. He's been a real asset for the town side and also for the residents in that Berry Corner area. He's really been beneficial to everybody in keeping the process moving and also sharing information back and forth. So.
And the other thing along those lines, Pete, is that if you go into the Board of Health office anytime, just recently versus, heck, I've been in town 31 years. I kind of know what it used to look like, a little haphazard way back when. But he's got that, the whole office is just running like a Swiss watch. I mean, it's just everything, and supposedly, at least from what he says, everybody's happy with the records and how they're being treated, how quickly they're being serviced by the Board of Health personnel. So I'm certainly happy to hear that. And again, if there's any questions, contact Jim or me. We're here for you. So.
Okay, sounds like a busy time.
Yeah, not quite as busy as the planning board.
So I'm Don Clay. My tenure on the planning board has been about 6 months now. So I kind of came in on quiet time. 2 hours a night, 2 nights a month. That's what they tell me. So we've been pretty busy, and there's a lot going on, and I'm actually going to defer to our chair here to go over some of those things, and if there's something that I think she missed, I'll chime in.
I'll share it with you.
Okay.
You can go through details. So we just had a joint appointment for a new alternate, John Smith, who we're lucky to have all of our seats and our alternate seat filled. Where we have the continued quest for a planning director. We kind of dropped the ball a little bit because we're so focused on other things right now. But I've actually gotten a couple of emails of interest from some seasoned planners, and we just kind of said, just let us get through this and we'll refocus. The big plan for this year is the overhaul of our zoning bylaws. It's a lot of things just don't jive, and it really needs a complete overhaul. We've asked for funding for that for this year, and also a kind of complete redo of our zoning map. I mean, as everybody knows, we have like 80% agricultural. In reality, it's all residential. So we need to kind of take a new look at that and update it. Of course, the master plan is much more fun, but as a board, we decided that the zoning needs to be fixed first to prevent any issues, and then we will go back and we'll do the fun master plan and invite everybody in to work on that. I guess the big changes we've had is being very, very transparent. So pretty much everything that we get in, we post on our website. We're very lucky to have it. Our page is full. And just for everybody's information, we'll be hearing Fourscore. And we have a bunch of solar plans coming in, and we look forward to Lori's guidance, because I know we're lucky that she comes to our meetings to kind of keep us updated, to keep us on the ball, getting those done right. And I can.
So,
go
okay,
over
I mean,
some
I can just cover
details.
some of the details. Right now, we've got just under 40 projects that are underway or under review at this time, and then 10 of those right now are solar that are yet to be permitted or within that point. We have been advertising our planning director on both the Mass, Connecticut, Rhode Island APA sites and the MMA sites, and we've used Indeed to a point. There's some cost with Indeed, and there's some confusion on how we pay for that. I guess there's some issues with the town. They only take credit cards. The town doesn't have a credit card that we can use to actually advertise on Indeed. So hopefully we can get that fixed at some point.
Give me a call when you know.
Okay.
I haven't heard of this before.
Okay, so it's little difficulties there, but we are getting a couple resumes in. There's not a lot of them coming in, so it's kind of slim pickings out there, and the people that we're getting aren't as qualified as we would hope they would be. So that's really a big focus that we really need to focus on coming into the next couple of months.
And we've had some ideas with that. Maybe bringing in somebody with less experience at a lower salary, and then maybe bringing in a retired planner that can show them the ropes for 6 months, 8 months. We're trying, being more creative on what's available, and and not be too desperate. So we're again looking at different routes, and we'll focus more when we get through this month.
Thanks.
Okay. Stephanie Reed, Dudley Shelton School Committee. Right now, we're in the midst of getting a new superintendent. We should have the finalist list tomorrow at our meeting at Shepherd Hill. And then we're just basically going into budget season, our favorite time of the year. And there's nothing really new per se going on.
It's nice and
for now. The calm before the storm.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you think that the school committee would like to have this, the regular meeting that we have as the budget kickoff, before you get someone on, or to wait? Or I haven't had a conversation yet with Christina. Have you had any conversations? Because now we're starting to get into that budget season.
Well, we're going to be doing the budget season, the meeting with our interim right now, but I'm not sure about how that will, I don't know. I mean, it would be nice if they could come in, but it won't be a higher until June. So.
And yeah, we'll be doing it with Christina.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you.
Stefan?
Stephen Sage, chairperson of the Board of Trustees of the library. The library is an amazing place. We have lots going on there. There's probably over 100 meetings a month using the building. Our library director, Cheryl Hansen, just recently sent out a survey to patrons to fill out, and we got a good number of results coming, or that came in, and the process was all put together in a pretty substantial report of what people see as the value of the library and where the library can go in the future. Without the evaluation, I knew that probably one of the most important things that was going to be mentioned in the survey was our staff. The staff gets rave reviews all the time. If you put together one of those word puzzle things where, you know, what gets mentioned the most is really big, the staff would have filled up the page. They are an incredible bunch of folks who provide incredible service to the community. The library is much more than just a book depository. There is just all kinds of stuff in there. There's technological stuff that I have no clue how to operate it. I still have a flip phone. But you can get e-books, you can get e-magazines, you can get language courses, you can get other courses, you can get free music, you can get all kinds of stuff in the netherworld, or whatever you want to call this thing out there. The library is just an amazing place. We do have some issues with a over 100-year-old building, even though we renovated the interior of that and added on to the building about 11 or 12 years ago. We have some roofing problems on the old part that's caused some water damage in our stage area, and an effort to try to get somebody to put in heating cables along our gutters so that the front entrance to the library is not a death trap if we ever actually get snow and icicles. And then we got some leaking gutters in the old part of the building as well that creates hazardous conditions on the walkway. And we're going to be funding that through, not the town, but through some of the trust funds that have been given to the library in the past. And that's pretty much it. If you haven't been into the library, or you're going into the town hall, or you think the town hall is still in the library, you need to find out what's in this town. It's amazing. There are some people come in and say, "Is this the town hall?" Even 10 years later. So there's a large population, I think, in town that has no clue where things are. It might make an effort.
Thank you, Steph. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. It's taking some time off. You usually do and come here to tell us what's going on with each and every one of your committees. There's a lot of volunteerism that happens in town, and the town is much better for it. All you have to do is look at the Old Home Day Committee, the Recycling Committee, the Recreation Committee. All the people that just donate, their time to make this a better place. And I didn't talk yet, Kevin, so you missed your chance. But just one of the things I want to talk about, one of the bigger things that's come up for us is the public safety building. We've pretty much come to terms with an engineer. We're in the process of coming to terms, or we have come to terms with an architect. Everybody has, the fire department and the police department have both come to agreement that we believe right across the property, right across from Masonic Home, the side of the existing police station is where the new public safety building will go. We're in the process of negotiating with Masonic Home over that piece of property. They've been very obliging. They would like nothing better than to have the fire department and the police department right across from their residence. I'll defer to the town administrator to probably flush that out a little bit. But in the process, the committee has gone to at least 4 towns. We've narrowed down what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it. And So we're gonna probably be bringing that forward to the town, to the town meeting on the next step. The past town meetings have been very good at giving us funds to get this far with it and giving their blessing to move on with it. The fire department is just absolutely positively antiquated, and it doesn't meet any of the codes that we need to meet now. And the police station is way too small for what they're doing, and they have, after seeing what other facilities have, just the bare minimums of what they're supposed to have for keeping evidence, especially some of the evidence has to be refrigerated now, the way you handle prisoners, just the way that to understand how they have to do business by the law, and they're not able to do it there. That's what made us move forward with thinking a public safety building rather than just a fire department. So that's one big thing. Just kudos to Pete and the Water and Sewer Commission for the things that they've been doing, and especially with getting water up to the people on around the dump. That's a huge thing. The next thing with the school roof is also that we're moving forward with that. Trying to look for our own water. That's always been the goal of this town. Unfortunately, we're limited as to where we can look, but they put, it's a lot of effort that goes into doing that. The other thing I can't say enough about is the townspeople putting through the Prop 2.5 override basically for the schools last year. That is a huge help. It has really made a difference in the schools, and it's going to make a difference in this budget season that we're coming up on. I just can't say enough to the townspeople for doing that. So with that.
Not much to add. We pretty much covered it all. Board of Selectmen's been very busy. I serve on both the Bay Mountain Farm Committee with Todd and Kathleen, and that's been just fantastic. I'd like to encourage everybody, if you haven't been to Bay Mountain Farm, growing season is about to start up, and just to reiterate, as Todd said, May 4th is opening day. That's Fish Day. Come on down and throw some fish in the water. How often does someone tell you that? But I got the half a CSA last year from Bay Mountain Farm, and every week you go in and you get to fill your basket up with fresh fruits and vegetables, whatever you want. You're supporting the town farm, you're supporting the community. No farms, no food. So last year we didn't get as much support from the town hall employees signing up for the CSA, so I know that's one thing we'd like to work on this year, is getting the town hall employees to sign up for those CSAs, because Bay Mountain Farm can do a delivery here. They did it a year before when they had enough people signing up. So if you don't want a full share, which is a whole bushel of fruits and vegetables a week, you can get just a half share, which is, I think I broke it down, over 40 weeks, my fruits and vegetables cost me $10 a week. Doesn't get much better than that, folks. So we want to encourage people to do that this year as well. We got to support our farm. It supports us. I'm on the Marijuana Advisory Committee. We've been extraordinarily busy. We were recently offered a tour of a grow and cultivation facility up in Brookfield. I attended. Todd Gerard was there. Patsy was there. I don't recall if anybody else. Jim Philbrook was there. We had a lot of people from the town come up, not only from this town, but from the Brookfields. State police were there, local police were there, and it was really quite the experience to be on the ground at one of these new businesses opening up, to see how they managed it, to see what they were doing. we talk about not having to reinvent the wheel, but essentially this business came in and they invented the wheel. So it was really quite exciting to see that. It was also a very interesting juxtaposition to open up the doors to the grow room that had hundreds of marijuana plants in it, and look at the plants, and then look at the state troopers, and then look at the plants, and look at the state troopers, and go, okay, this is a whole new world for us. But on a more serious note, they really take their business very seriously. And one of the members of Green Gold Group, James McMahon, frequently comes to the Marijuana Advisory Committee because they do a new business that will eventually be opening up in town. We had an update about that last week when we met. They're working with the DOT to address traffic concerns, but they've gone through the hiring process, and almost all the new employees are from the Charlton area. And when we talked about the demographics of the employees, most of them are women, including the general manager of the facility that's opening up on Route 20. So I was very encouraged by that. We are appointing several new members to the Marijuana Advisory Committee. We're going to have, instead of one community member, we're going to have two full-time members, two full-time community members and an alternate. Several people have already stepped up and offered to volunteer their time. And we will have one appointed member from the Planning and or Zoning Department. She hasn't been appointed yet, but she did step up and came to our last meeting. And that's about it. It's been a great year. I really enjoyed going to the skate park opening back in October. Thank you for inviting me. It's amazing to see what you've done and to have it right next to the library. Kind of like your one-stop shopping for the kids there. So anything we can do to help encourage that, let us know, including finding you one more member.
Sounds good, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll just say a few things about what we're doing and going on that may be of interest to boards and committees, because I could probably go on for hours about the things that we're doing or have going. Budget season, as you know, our finance director has sent out budgets to all the boards and committees and departments. We're in the process of getting those back. If you have any questions, you certainly can give us a call. We're working on the forecast. It's kind of a moving target at this point. Some of the revenues that we had anticipated that may be coming in may not be coming in, and those were part of what we were planning on getting some things done that we've been deferring for many, many years. Certainly the meeting that we just had with the Board of Assessors to think about that we might lose $1 million in solar has distressed us, has us really concerned, as well as some of the revenue, tax revenue and other revenue that we had anticipated from a new industry coming to town, may not. So we're going to have to try and figure out exactly where we are financially. That's one of the reasons I was asking about the meeting. I think people have seen me kind of trying to dream on what is the next steps for Charlton, because we are growing. And I think it's kind of dawned on me that maybe we're not going to grow quite as fast, and we're going to need to start to really go back to some of those other days when we were saying, okay, here's the tax bill. I know that new people did receive their tax bills from the override, and people are feeling that. So I'm want to be respectful of that as we start the budget season. And there were things because I probably would have been telling you about all these things that we were doing. So some of the things that we are looking at, I don't know if we're going to be able to do, is to relook at the classification plans. We are having trouble hiring. And we've seen that in several different areas, and we have had to hire. Because of retirement, we've had a lot of people retired. So that's a concern. If we can't pay the salaries and wages that others around us are able to pay, we are at a disadvantage. And we really do. Charlton deserves the best staff that they can, and you do have excellent staff. So I've been working with the HR to try and look at the classification plan. We have a couple of department heads who are really low, and the Board of Selectmen has, and the Finance Committee has committed trying to fix some of those salaries. So that's one piece. We have a lot of capital pieces that we need to look at. John mentioned the public safety building. We have looked at debt coming off, and we did tell the town meeting that we would be replacing that debt, the override, 2.5 override debt exclusion, with debt coming off. It would have certainly been nice not to have to go to you at all. Cemetery, I don't think they're here. They are asking for some additional space allocations, and we've been having conversations down at the highway barn. The municipal building committee has requested that we start to look at the possibility of expanding the highway barn to include cemetery and possibly start moving towards more of a DPW so that we can get the economies of scale and the sharing and the efficiencies of that. I don't know how that's going to work forward, but that has been part of a discussion. We're still trying to work with our department heads based on the government study committee which the government study committee recognized that we have put too much on too many people. They're wearing too many hats. So one of the things we're trying to do is to try and tether out some of those things. You've seen the result of that by our building commissioner, who has been our building commissioner, our IT person, our facilities person. We now do have a facilities person and an IT person, and we're very happy to have you come on board. So we're trying to move the town forward. We're trying to be in the 21st century. We're trying simple things like changing the website so that people can apply online. Those are things people expect from their town government, and we are trying to get into that position. So if you haven't gotten your budget, or if you haven't submitted it yet, if you can get that to me, if you need to have a conversation, if you're making any changes in your budget line. If you're just kind of level funding, great, thank you, goodbye. If you're asking for any changes, we're asking you to justify those changes, state what it is. If you're looking to purchase something, if it's capital, please have the backup documentation so it'll be easier when we compile this together, and we're bringing it to the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee for review. So I think I'll just stop there. Because I think the budget is really going to be the next thing that's heavily on our plate. Yes, sir.
Could you properly tell everybody, I noticed there's an electrical charging station out here for...
Yes, thank you. I did not talk about that. So first, we got the designation as a green community, which is yay, Charlton. We're a green community, which is, not necessarily an easy one to get. With that came $160,000 right off the bat, and the future rounds will have to apply for additional. But we've been able to do a lot. We've been able to go into the police station and insulate some of there. We've been able to change controls so that we can get some energy savings on heat and electricity. But what the fun one is that we have been able to, through the grant, put a charging station out in front. And right now, it's free, but it won't stay that way. We are not willing to put that burden on the taxpayer. So right now, we're kind of looking and doing a survey of what other businesses charge for it, and we will just make sure that we're able to cover those costs, but we're very excited to have that. The Board of Selectmen, in getting to the green communities, has taken a pledge that new vehicles other than public safety will start looking at lower efficiencies and possible electrical cars, so we may be starting to do that. I know Charlton is very proud of being energy conscious and environmental conscious, so that's a good thing. The other one that I'm really excited about to tell you is that we received a grant for $25,000 for an adult gym. What this is, and any of you have been down to Florida and seen and walked around, because it's a retirement area, they have these on the sidewalks, and you'll just go for a walk and there'll be a station there. And it might be pull-ups or it might be something else. So what we're looking at is using our existing track, which is out in back of the library this way, and put in a loop We've just received a $10,000 grant from the Overlook to partner with us, so they're also willing to put some money into this so that we can do some pull boxes, emergency boxes, cameras, and some of the grading. And we're looking to start really focusing, we're hoping to start focusing on the trails and make this really a good walkable, livable town for all ages. So we're excited about that too.
Thank you for bringing that up.
And one more.
Okay.
Because just it's so visual.
Okay.
Thanks to town meeting, you're gonna just get me started excited.
Okay.
I'm gonna,
One more.
I started way down here. One more.
One
We
more.
are replacing the sign in front of the library with an electronic sign. And that's gonna be very helpful to get information out. And thank you, town meeting approved that, and I'll start now.
Just as you were talking, there was just one more thing I thought to bring up. About a year ago, we formed the Civilian Traffic Commission, and they've been extraordinarily active, and they came to one of our last meetings. I don't know if it was our last meeting, Karen, or the one before that, and Officer McGrath gave a presentation. We secured funds to put in 4 solar stop signs at two treacherous intersections on Stafford Road that people will typically just go right through, not realizing that traffic doesn't stop the other way. So I don't know if anyone's ever seen one of these solar stop signs. They have solar panels attached to the tops and lights at all the corners. All the way around, yep. Yep, so. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yep. So those are going to be installed this year. And there was one other item that they asked for that escapes me. But the counter. And is that a solar counter as well? Okay. Traffic counter. But they're not here tonight, so I just wanted to mention the good work that they're doing and how citizens now have an avenue to go through when they're having traffic problems. So this, of course, arose out of the traffic issues on Route 20 with Treehouse, but the scope of their work has expanded tremendously, and we're very grateful for what they do. I think that might be it. Does anyone have any questions? Obviously, Mr. McGrath had to leave. Yeah, he has work. No other questions? Well, thank you so much for coming.
Yes.